You're listening to Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. I love this guest. We had met before briefly. We didn't really talk. Today's guest is just someone that we were going to a convention together and flying into Arkansas, and we thought the plane was going to crash. We thought we were going down, and we were sitting next to each other, and we had a bonding experience.
Trauma bond.
Trauma bond. Kate Flannery is on the podcast today. She's fantastic. You've seen her in The Office and millions of other things. She's extremely funny, humble, sweet, and I enjoyed every moment with her. Didn't you?
Yeah, she was really nice.
Really nice
Really,
and
really
really
cool.
fun to be around, right? Just
Yeah.
just a full. What do you say? She's just
The complete package.
the complete package is what she was. That's
Yeah.
right. Before we get into it, just a reminder that my new podcast, our new podcast, it's called Talkville. Tom Welling and I have a new podcast. It's called Talkville. Ryan Tejas is on board. Every week we watch an episode. We watch every episode of the entire series in order, and then we talk about that episode. Like the pilot episode, we have a whole episode about the pilot. We talk about it. There's a hotline. You can call in. It's so much fun. And we're so excited and delighted to tell you about it. And hopefully you'll join us and spread the word. July 13th, Wednesday, and every Wednesday thereafter, we will talk all things Smallville. I know you've been waiting for this.
It's a big deal.
Act like it. Act like you've been waiting for it, because it's a lot of work. And it's a lot of fun too.
I mean, I will be watching for the first time.
Yeah, Ryan will get to watch for the first time.
Oh,
so we
yeah.
get to see how because he never watched Smallville. He
I never
never
did.
watched it.
I never
So
did.
it's fun watching, listening to what you have to say about each episode. I never know what you're thinking.
It's a time capsule, man.
It's a time
crazy.
capsule. I love it. Also, look, if you guys want to join Patreon, go to patreon.com/inside of you. Support the podcast. Many people do. It really helps the podcast. There's different tiers. Top tier, get their name shouted out on the podcast at the end of every podcast. They get boxes full of merch from me, little messages from me, and more stuff. So go to patreon.com/inside of you. I'll message you back after you join. And also go to sunspin.com if you want to get a Zoom from me and Rob and the band. There's tons of band merch there. I'm on Cameo, blah-de-blah. Thank you for listening. If you like Kate Flannery, stick around and tell me what you think. Tell me what you think and listen to other guests, because I think you'll really dig it. Let's talk about the handles that you can follow us, and please write a review. It really helps the podcast.
It is at inside.
We just cut a fart. There's a fart, and we cut it, but we're laughing at it now. So sorry about that.
It's at Inside of You Pod on Twitter and at Inside of You Podcast on Instagram and Facebook.
Yes, thank you for listening. We love you. I work very hard to get guests and talk about real things, real issues, adversity that people face, and mental health, and all that stuff in between. So thank you for everybody that listens and supports this podcast. I appreciate you. And without further ado, let's just do it. Let's get inside of Kate Flannery. It's my point of view. You're listening to Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum was not recorded in front of a live studio audience. Do you have purpose? Do you feel like you have purpose? Because that's it sounds funny. It sounds silly to talk about.
No, I do, but then I get busy with weird shit, and then I'm like, I fear that what am I doing? And then I'm like, this is just recent, and I think it's just because I'm tired and I booked a little too much all at the same time.
You are on the
I'm
go,
an
woman.
idiot.
No,
I'm
but
an
you are.
idiot.
I've never seen anyone as busy as you. It feels like you're just.
I'm a dipshit. I used to overbook in town. Now I overbook out of town. I mean, I literally would be running from one show to the next, and Oh, God.
I mean, how do you do it because if you stop, you'll just get depressed?
Maybe that's part of it, and some of it's FOMO, and some of it's just that. So much of what we do is connecting to people, and if you don't show up, you don't connect. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I really feel like the people that don't go to other people's shows, I'm like, all right. But if you're in enough shows, then you see everybody. You're in their shows.
Right.
I mean, when I did more stand-up nights and stuff.
Right. Do you find it hard to say no to people?
Yeah,
for instance, this podcast. You were wanting to say no. I could feel it. You're like, I'm too busy. I've done a lot of podcasts, but you did it. Somehow you did it.
No, I know. And I mean, I'd rather do your podcast than the 3 other people that I said yes to that I shouldn't have. At least I know you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's how it kind of goes. Yeah.
So I read that you have 5. Well, first of all, let me talk about the plane ride, because you and I met. You and Jane Lynch were doing this morning show as co-hosts or something for it.
Right. What the hell?
What was that?
No, we weren't co-hosting. We were just guests.
Guests
But then they just wouldn't let us leave. It was that Hallmark talk show called Home and Family. It's literally a 3-hour show. And you have to like really have the pushiest publicist in the world to get out of like doing more than one segment, because they want you to do 5 segments.
They're like, give them more.
Yeah,
we want some funny here. We want some.
That's right.
Did they pay you well?
Probably not. But we're promoting. We were promoting our tour, so I was like, "Hey, it'll be fun." And we've actually sung live on that show a few times. Which sometimes it's hard to be able to be allowed to sing on a show.
Yeah,
you know how it goes. So, so we were, shaking hands and kissing babies, if you know what I'm saying. Like, we're just doing what you got to do, right?
Yeah, it was a cool little show. It was fun, but I remember meeting you there, and I was like, God, she's so full of energy. She's so fun. You're like adorable. You know,
if you're 80, I'm adorable. Or if you're 6, anything in between, I'm not sure. But it's funny. I remember we were playing we were playing a game, like some made up game and this balloon was supposed to pop. And I remember and they kept putting air if you get and they were sure that it was going to pop, and it just wouldn't pop.
It just wouldn't pop.
So I literally walked up, took my earring off, and just popped the thing.
And you popped the fucker.
Like, fuck it.
That's exactly what you did. We then got reacquainted on a plane.
We sure did.
Now,
puddle jumper from Dallas
to Arkansas. And let me tell you, Kate, if I may say, is not someone that gets nervous on flights. Never. She just is kind of like, she's been on so many, so have I. I don't really get.
Never, right?
Tell the story.
Well, we were about to land in Arkansas, and we didn't. We just didn't land. We were
the plane just kind of jerked up.
It was like, what is happening? And nobody said a word. The pilot did not say a word forever. Like we never found out. We never even found out.
But looking around, you could see other people were really worried. They were freaking out. You looked at me like, oh. I
was like, this is not good. And the sky, literally, we were in tornado country, and it looked like
tornado country.
Yeah.
It really did.
I felt like, are we in one? Are we near one? Did it just happen? Is it about to happen? What's happening?
Jesus.
Are we running away from it? No, we're just circling it. We're circling the tornado.
It was scary, man.
It was really scary.
It was. I was like, holy shit, is this how it's going to end? Because, when you're flying so much, you think, all right, well, what are the odds? Well, I guess it's...
Yeah, the odds go up,
They
right?
go up if you fly a lot.
Do.
How many flights do you think you take on average a month or a year?
Well, last year, I realized I did 53 flights, which is nuts.
53
during
flights.
A pandemic.
And you didn't get COVID?
I did not. But I'm the idiot with the 2 masks and a shield. And I bring a straw because they don't give you straws on planes. So I just shove that stupid straw in my mask so I don't take it off. I don't have to. I shove the food up there. See, the dog agrees.
Yeah, the dog's upset.
It's a good deal.
Yeah. Do you like cons?
I do. Some are better than others.
So what do you love about the cons? What do you like about them? What do you not like about them?
Well, there is this feeling like you are in a storefront and people are literally walking past you and shopping and figuring out if they're going to spend their money on you, which is really weird.
Yeah, you're like, oh, hey, look at these new pictures I have here. I know you feel kind of weird sometimes. Don't you?
That's a little odd. That's the oddest part. And every once in a while, there'll be some super funny character, just some odd people that are like, what's going on? You're like, what's going on? You paid to get in. Shouldn't you already know? It's like...
do you have people coming up and quoting you constantly?
I do. I usually do.
What's the one quote that you think that people always say of Meredith Palmer?
Usually it's casual day. Like they usually give me that.
Right.
Or, Don't Fall in Love with Me, Kid. That's another one. There's a few. Casual Day is probably the most popular.
Right.
Yeah.
And don't you love the people that just go, hey, I don't want anything. I don't want an autograph. I just want to talk to you.
Right.
And then you're like, great, but you don't know how to get out of the conversation. You're
always
like,
tough.
hey, you know,
always tough.
It's always difficult. I think I'm pretty good like that. I go, hey, I love you. Thanks so much for coming by. And I'll talk to you later. I'll see you later.
You can take care of yourself. I knew you could take care of yourself. I never worry about you.
Yeah. Don't worry about me. What
I
about
don't know
you?
you well, but I know you well. You know what I mean? Like I got your number. Like I know you don't suffer. You don't suffer.
I don't suffer too much.
Some people suffer.
But
I don't suffer.
Do you suffer? It's kind of weird. It's so fun when there's a lot of people there to see you and you're busy and you're you feel like you're somewhat important or you're relevant.
Sure.
And then you could easily feel like shit when all of a sudden there's nobody at the convention and nobody wants to see.
And
that happens sometimes.
It does. And actually, even sometimes, like when I'm with somebody from the office, like, and their line is bigger than mine or whatever. But I also realize I don't talk as long as some of the other people on the show. So I go like, oh, well, if I talk longer, then my line would be longer. I don't know. Right. But it's also like, it's such a champagne problem because doing cons is like this very coveted position that I have a lot of very famous friends that would like to do them, or fairly well-known actors that like do a lot of stuff, but they're not on the show, or they don't do sci-fi, or they don't do this. Right. So it's a weird thing.
Because you haven't done a lot of sci-fi, right? Wizards of Waverly Place was sort of like was that a kind of a
sort of? Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, I was in the movie Cooties, where I played Elijah Wood's mom. I played Elijah Wood's mom, but I'm going to tell you, I would have had to been a slut in 7th grade to be Elijah Wood's mom. I'm not that much older than Elijah Wood. But
do you hate when they cast you as a mom and you're like, motherfuckers?
Right. Well,
I am not that old.
I mean, again, like
I'm waiting to get to be cast
the dad.
as dad. I'm in that middle.
Yeah, you're almost there. You're almost there.
Oh God! Did you hear what she said? She said, "I'm almost there."
No, you're
almost
there.
the dad. You're
no. Actually, I would totally. Well, you know what? We're all going in one direction, or we're not. Like, do you really want to jump the planet,
or we're getting older,
or we're getting plastic surgery and pretending like we're young? I mean, like, what? What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Do you worry about that?
I thought you were gonna say, do you do plastic surgery?
Do you do? Are you plastic? The plasticity.
I actually
of it
had
all.
a few more lines put in. I'm just kidding. Hey, I got a thing. I got to keep it up. Right?
But do you ever look in the mirror and are you hard on yourself?
Sure, sometimes. But I also feel like, I'm the one that I'm like the idiot. When I first started, like, I never wanted my pictures to look too good because I didn't want to walk in the room and disappoint people.
That's what they should have on apps.
I'm telling you.
Dating apps.
I'm telling you. They should.
They never look as good.
They should. It's awful. It's awful. You're setting yourself up for failure. Like, at least if you're a little under par and you show up, people go, hey,
she puts herself together.
Wow.
She needs to update her photos.
The years have been kind. What? It's a weird thing. I mean, I do have vanity and sanity sometimes, but I also, like, as I get older, you go like, what are you going to do?
What's like the worst criticism you've had from a casting director? Because first of all, casting directors, folks, are not honest. They usually, and I've talked to a casting director about this, usually no matter how bad someone is, they'll go, yeah, it just wasn't right for the part, did a great job, because they never want to burn bridges in case that person gets famous or something happens.
Of course.
Which I find to be sort of awful.
Yeah.
Like, I want somebody to say, hey, he just didn't have it today. He just wasn't on.
You want something constructive. You want constructive
so it makes
criticism.
you work harder.
Right.
Unless, he's great. He's great.
You are in the wrong town, my friend. Seriously. I mean, I'm serious because people don't want to be that. I don't think they're that thoughtful. And I think it's really about, they are more worried about relationships and stepping on toes. Although, until you've obviously made it to a certain point where they're not afraid to offend you.
Yeah.
But, it's funny. I don't think I've ever been offended by casting, but I remember I was in between agents when I moved here from New York. This was probably like 2 years before I got the office.
Right.
And I remember this assistant called and she said, hey, just want to let you know we're passing on you because of your age and your looks. And I was like,
I mean, did they need to say that?
And I was like, is she reading a card? Does she have a head injury? Should she not realize what she's saying to me? And I was like, could you repeat that? Because I was like, please repeat that. That is like the craziest sentence I think I've ever heard.
We are not hiring you because of your age.
And your looks. She said it again. Exactly.
Maybe she thought, oh, Kate's so funny that I'm going to throw a zinger at her. And she's gonna go, God, that was funny.
You are giving this woman too much.
That didn't happen.
Too much credit.
But you were offended. You were hurt.
I was offended, and then the minute I became famous in the office, I had her fired. I'm just kidding. I know. I actually don't remember what the agency was.
Right.
But yeah, but it's weird because I was waiting tables up and through the first season of The Office in Beverly Hills. So
wait a minute. You were waiting tables?
I was. I mean, I was like co-starring, guest starring.
And you were in your 30s.
Yeah. Then I was 40 when I got The Office, and I was still waiting tables because I kept my job that year during season 1 because we didn't know if we were going to get picked up and, whatever.
Right.
But so I just remember I remember after the Aspen Comedy Festival, I did it in, I think it was 2003 or 2004. And then, oh no, it was 2003. Sorry. And I think, I just remember having a lot of meetings after that and then waiting on the people that passed on me and then hearing them with other clients, which was such a trip. Like this one guy was giving this spiel to a potential client, like, you're the king and we're just going to build you a castle. I was like, what the fuck? Like, it was so weird hearing it from the other side, right?
And now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. One of my favorite sponsors, by the way. Ryan, what does burnout mean to you? Not like you see these guys that are burnouts.
No, that's different.
It's completely different.
Just being depleted.
Depleted of energy.
Overworked.
Not making enough time for yourself.
Yep.
Have you guys felt burnt out? I know I have. I constantly feel burnt out. It feels to me like I just don't have energy to do anything. And, you've got to take time for yourself. You've got to pay attention to your body, your mind, and BetterHelp is there for us. Ryan, I know, still uses BetterHelp. A lot of my listeners, listen to BetterHelp. Life can be overwhelming. It sure can. And many people are burned out without even knowing it. Symptoms can include lack of motivation, irritability, fatigue, and more. We associate burnout with work, but that's not the only cause. Any of our roles in life can lead us to feel burned out. BetterHelp Online Therapy wants to remind you to prioritize yourself. I don't know how many times I say this on the podcast. Be good to you. Be good to yourself. Talking with someone can help you figure out what's causing stress in your life. I know that I get so in my head that I sometimes don't know what to do next. I'm overwhelmed with life. I'm overwhelmed, and I just tend to go back in the bedroom and just fall on my bed and try to sleep it off instead of dealing with my shit. Mm-hmm. If I could say that. I don't think BetterHelp cares. It's real stuff here I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. But talking to a therapist, talking to someone who's objective, someone who can, who will listen to you, who's a professional, it helps. It really, truly helps. And don't take my word for it. Take Ryan's word for it. Take all the patrons and all the people around the world that use BetterHelp.
Yeah.
Take their word for it.
Yeah.
BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, I can tell you that, especially living out here in California. You can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. And our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/inside. That's BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/inside. Inside of You is brought to you by Geico. Geico asks, how would you love a chance to save some money on insurance? Well, of course you would. After all, who doesn't love a great deal, right? And when it comes to great rates on insurance for all the things in your life, Geico can help. Like with insurance for your car, truck, motorcycle, boat, and RV. Even help with homeowners, condo, or renters coverage. You could save even more with a special discount when you bundle your coverages. Plus, add the easy-to-use Geico mobile app, available 24-hour roadside assistance, and more. And choosing to switch to Geico becomes an easy choice. Switch today and see all the ways you could save with great rates and discounts. It's easy. Simply go to geico.com to get a rate quote or contact your local agent and get started seeing how much you could save. I have an agent like that who I love him because he really believes in me.
Right.
And he really fights for me. But some of the stuff he says is like, it's just like, how do you even believe that? I can't even wrap my head around. It's like, you're the next Will Ferrell. You are Will fucking Ferrell. You are funnier. You're more diverse. You're a dramatic actor. And I'm like going, are you on coke? What are you on? This guy's brilliant. He's one of my heroes. I don't want to be, I want to be half as good as Will Ferrell. I want you to look at me and I want you to say, you're half as good. And I'm like, that's still really good.
Right. Because if a compliment's too high, then there's a, it's we're in Hollywood. It's all bullshit.
What do your agents say to you? Are they very honest with you?
They're pretty honest with me. I mean, I feel
they love you though. How do you not love Kate Flannery?
Well, I actually went to college with my current agent, so I've known him for years. We weren't working together for a while, and I worked with him 25 years ago, and then we were in different cities, and I think we both were having addiction issues in different areas. Me with bad boyfriends. Don't get me started. And,
no, get started.
Start. Great. Well, this is part of why I was still waiting tables, because I got myself into trouble sharing credit with an ex-boyfriend, and was like, oh, I have to
sharing credit, like credit cards.
Yeah. Don't do it, kids. Don't do it.
You got yourself in debt because he was spending all this money.
And then he was underemployed the entire time, and he's like, I'll pay you back. Never pay me. It's that kind of thing where I literally had to declare bankruptcy. I'm like, I hit the wall because of you. And, the whole thing, well, I would do it for you. Like that. I was just negotiated out of all my boundaries. I was an idiot.
Yeah.
But again, all it takes is hopefully all it takes is one of those people in your life to be like, I will never let that happen again.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm proving to the universe every day that I'm never going to let it happen again by putting on this uniform and waiting on the rich and famous in between my gigs.
That's got to be the worst.
It actually wasn't. I actually found it fascinating because, again, it's it helped me get less intimidated by the famous. Because obviously when you're working on set with people, sometimes it's like, holy shit.
Have you been like that with roles?
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, I remember even on The Office when Timothy Oliphant was recurring on our show, and I had a big thing with him, a big scene with him, and I was like, big thing with him. That sounds wrong.
Whoa,
that's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. I was like, just go. You got to just jump. We're just doing this. But I had watched Deadwood, and I was like, and he's a really good looking guy. Whatever.
But you got a little intimidated?
Yes. Yeah.
Really? Did he know it? Because I bet he was intimidated by you.
Well, also it was one of his
gal.
and it was also one of his first days on the show. Maybe he was just intimidated being on the show. I don't know if it was me personally, but I'm sure he didn't Google me before. But which is fine.
I bet he did.
I don't know.
Maybe he did. I don't know. Let's ask him. Timothy, come on out. Could you imagine I brought Timothy just for that?
Thank God I didn't say anything
just for that.
More intimidating than what I just said. Oh my God. But stuff like this. So yeah, I mean, everyone, and Kathy Bates was on the show, and I was like, I know.
Do you say something to her? What do you say?
You just have.
Do you get starstruck and do you say, can I have your autograph? Do you do things like that?
No. We're working together, but you also have to find the common ground and and you have to sort of take their temperature. I mean, she had a lot to do because all she did was monologues at first because she was the big boss that would come in. So she had these big speeches. So it wasn't about having short little clippy conversations with her in between takes. She had a lot in her head.
Was she nervous?
She was. I could tell.
She was.
Yeah.
But did she do it well?
She was great. I mean, she's amazing. But this is the thing. She really gives a shit. So that's why that's why she has an Academy Award. She takes everything she does super seriously.
Right. And you're thinking, how is she nervous?
I know.
Doesn't it make you feel better when you see big stars nervous?
Totally.
It kind of gives you a little confidence.
A little bit, yeah.
Hey, that person's a human being.
Absolutely. And everybody has their process. And, obviously when you're joining a cast that already exists, it's so weird. We had a much more friendly set than most shows. I've been guest starred some shows where I'm like, no, thank you. If I... and it's always weird when it's an offer. It's like, I didn't even ask to be here, and this is weird. What am I doing here?
Right.
It's like, thanks for nothing, universe. What the hell? It's like, I was just minding my own business, and now I'm in this shit show.
Well, it's because you're like the Henry Winkler of women. You are the kindest. People want to work with you. Well, you know what it is?
That is the highest compliment.
It is, because if you know Henry...
I do.
He's
the greatest.
Everybody wants to work with him.
Greatest.
I feel like that's maybe you.
Do
you think people just genuinely want Kate Flannery
not as
on?
big as Fonzie.
But that's not my point. But Kate Flannery is a good time.
Fair enough. Yeah,
she's fun to be around. She's good at what she does.
You know how when they say the most friendly person on the set, look out, back away. Like I felt like sometimes I was, but whatever. I don't, hopefully I didn't have that reputation, but I was like, hey, but also I didn't have that many lines most of the time on The Office because I got to do so much physical stuff. So I had time to chat. I was like, hey, what's up?
Is it kind of fun when there's not that much pressure on
Yes,
you, where you
it's
just have a line here, a line there?
It is
That's
fantastic.
the gift because
if you make peace with it, if you don't, you're in hell. But so I stopped counting lines like right away. I was like, no. Oh, this is another thing. And then I noticed that sometimes like I'd get my line cut, but I'd still have the camera, they'd still keep the shot to me because my face sort of, I'd still get the laugh without even talking.
Right.
So I was like, I sort of really started to trust that like, no, this is like, there's something else going on. You could have a presence without, and sometimes kind of like the Steve McQueen thing, like the less you talk, the more powerful you are.
Yeah.
You
less
know?
is better.
It's true. And I hate when long running series, all of a sudden these characters have, they have more lines and they have more exposition. And
that's
like,
not why
and then
it was
they're
successful.
not even funny.
Right,
they're not even funny anymore. I'm
right.
like, I never wanted that. So I was really happy that even though there's a couple episodes where I talked a little more, we never lost that thing of me sort of being in, this like weird little head in the background making a face. I love that was still in the mix because it's very rare. I mean, Happy Days was like, sort of like, you don't want whatever. There's so many of the characters morphed. I mean, why am I picking on Happy Days? But Henry Winkler, but he morphed as well. But he always had that was a different. Like he had a lot of gravitas, and he was he was the Fonz.
He was. But as a person, he still to this day leaves messages. Michael, it's Henry. I want to know how you and your brother are doing. I miss you. I love you. I just wanted to say hello.
He's the greatest.
He'll leave randomly.
Oh. The greatest.
It's so sweet.
He is.
Yeah. He was always like a father figure to me.
I'm so happy that he won an Emmy for Barry. And I just started watching season 2, and I think fingers crossed for the next Emmy for Henry Winkler.
Yeah.
Not that he needs it because he's the greatest anyway.
He's fantastic.
He is.
Who made you laugh the most on The Office? Who could you barely keep a straight face
Steve.
on?
Steve, this is the thing about Steve Carell. He is such a great actor, and he has 5 choices in his head for how to do something. And you're like, what? Like, it's hard enough to come up with 1 or 2. And yet, like, he could make it fresh and make this choice. Like, I always talk about, there was an episode called Office Olympics where Michael Scott's getting his condo, so he's out of the office for most of the day. So Jim sets up like these silly, like, paperclip games and like all this crazy stuff to do around the office. And we treat it like it's the Olympics.
Right.
So at the end of the day, we literally have closing ceremonies, and Michael comes in, and so he decides to give Michael a gold medal, which is made from paper clips and yogurt lids that they just smash like the round top. Anyway.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Shiny.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they put like boxes of the paper, the whole bundles of paper, different heights to make it like bronze.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Gold and silver.
Yep.
So they gave Michael the gold medal, so he's on top. And then they played the theme to the office they played the theme to the Olympics, and all of a sudden during one of the takes, Steve Carell just starts crying because he's moved by the music of the Olympics. It's not written at all. And I'm like, that is so funny because I don't know about you, but like the theme to the Olympics makes me really like as a kid. I remember being so excited.
What is it? What is the theme? How's it go? Yep.
I mean, it was.
I almost cried just now.
He literally started crying. I was like, "This is the funniest."
Did you laugh?
I didn't. I tried not to. I don't. You don't want to ruin the take.
But you can keep a straight face, can't you? You don't break much.
I'm pretty good.
Who's broken you, Steve?
Oh yeah. He just because you're like, what the hell?
Who do you break? Who can you break?
I don't. In the cast of The Office, I don't know. I mean, I always felt I got props from Rain, but I don't know if I broke him. Like he's the kind of guy that like you'd work on something and then he'd send you an email that night and go like, "Hey, that was really funny," or like or after the episode air, he goes, "That was," and I really appreciated that because it just was very thoughtful.
It's funny because Rain, he's been on the podcast twice now.
Hey,
and he talked about he felt like at one point he was sort of an asshole on the set, and like where he's like I wasn't an asshole, I wasn't mean to people, I was just like in my head and in a bad place and this and that. Do you remember those times?
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just kidding.
You do remember? Because
I don't know what you're talking about.
He says people would know. I'm sure people would say I was mean, but they would say, yeah, I remember,
Well, yeah. I mean, he was easy to make fun of because he was a little bit of a curmudgeon sometimes. But I got to be honest with you. I've been on many sets. Like the comparison to, some other major douchebags on sets is
you've worked with some douchebags?
Well, yeah, I mean, let me tell you, I've been, or I've heard about, I've definitely heard horror stories. I've not worked with Charlie Sheen or anybody like that.
Right.
But, I've heard bad things about Jim Belushi. There's a few people that have like a rep,
But you've never really seen it on set where you're like, oh my God, this guy is a diva or this
No,
woman.
not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not that I can, if I say one thing about this, you're going to guess who it is, and I can't say it, but it's not The Office. But
Hey guys, I'm Tom Welling. I used to play Clark Kent on Smallville.
I'm Michael Rosenbaum. I used to play Lex Luthor on Smallville. Join us every week as we go back.
Way back.
I'm excited.
I know.
Aren't you?
Can't wait.
Join Tom Welling and Michael Rosenbaum every week as they rewind every episode of Smallville and discuss their experiences with friends, fans, and co-stars. Talkville, the ultimate Smallville podcast.
it's a weird.
It's not Bernie Mac.
No, I loved Bernie.
Was he great?
Oh, he was the greatest.
I hear that.
He was the greatest.
What do you remember about working with him?
He was the most generous. He used to have this big lunch in his room. Like, you're supposed to go to to catering for lunch. And he'd be like, hey, come up in my dressing room. He has this huge dressing room. All the kids ate there with their moms. What? He had like different food up there. He was like, I'm doing this. He was so great. He was so grateful to be there. He just made sure everybody was super comfortable. Because there were kids on the show, he wanted to make sure their parents were comfortable.
Are you kidding me?
He was awesome. He was awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
It makes it even more tragic knowing how great of a guy he is.
And it's so funny. The episode I got to do for Bernie Mac, Creed is in that episode. Creed Bratton is in that episode, but he doesn't have any lines. He's he's a background actor, but he was like a featured background actor playing a doctor. Right. So you kind of just see like the side of his head or something. Isn't that funny that we're both in the same episode? Yeah. And I didn't know him then. So wow. We weren't in the same space. So I didn't get to meet him till The Office, but it's so crazy. But Bernie was the greatest. Just,
Were you popular in high school?
In my weird way, yes. Because I was like a theater geek. And I did have a lot of friends. I also have a twin sister. We don't look alike.
You're younger by a few minutes?
Yes, by 3 minutes. And so I feel like we got ditched by our friends in 8th grade when we got to high school because they were like on to bigger and bigger pastures. I was like, whatever. But I feel like we kind of knew everybody in a good way. Like, I don't think anybody would.
So were you a class clown? Were you funny like you are now?
Only with like my theater friends. Yeah. I mean, not so much sometimes in class, but
were you a serious actress? Were you like really? Because I know you teach Shakespeare.
Oh, I did.
Yeah,
I did right before The Office. I actually was music director for the Los Angeles Drama Club.
See, that sounds like it's kind of like you take things seriously.
No, it was fun. Are you kidding? I just was like, a friend of mine, there's this great little theater that's owned by the people that own the Magic Castle. It's behind their house. And I've actually performed there a lot with the Lampshades, my comedy act. But before that, they started this little, one of the sister-in-laws, Blair, started this Los Angeles Drama Club it was like kids between like 8 and 12 doing Shakespeare. So I'm the one that was like, we're going to end every show with brush up your Shakespeare. Like I was trying to bring some comedy into it.
Right.
So, it was good for me because I hadn't played the piano in a while. So I was like trying to, kind of get my skills without, having to practice. I practiced, but for something very specific. And like I literally was playing for the recitals. It was really fun.
Now you have 5 sisters and a brother?
Yeah. Yep. So, what a shock. I'm a desperate redhead,
Were you in the middle? Were you right?
I was the end.
You were the end.
But I have a twin, so it was like 2 of us with the end. I kind of feel like my sister Susie was more the youngest than me, but in a way.
What do they all do? Do they veer away from entertainment completely?
Yeah, I'm the only one.
Nobody. So what do you got? One's a social worker?
Yeah, my twin sister's a social worker, so I am the evil twin. Like I'm like she is literally like the greatest person on planet Earth. And she also takes care of my dad. She took care of my mom before she died. Like she's amazing. Yeah, she's funny. She's actually funnier than I am.
Has your family always been really supportive of what you do?
My mom was tough about, because I wanted to do this as a kid, and she was like, no way. And I'm so grateful that she put the brakes on it, because every time I work with a kid actor, I'm like, uh-oh. Like, I just don't, some of them are
difficult,
or just like in their life trajectory is really in a bad spot, because some of them don't want to go to college. Some of them think they're going to be doing this forever. And you know how weird it is.
Yeah.
You know, you hit 15 and people are like, good luck. If you're not, you know, whatever. Very rarely do you get to have a whole career when you start as a kid. Very rare.
I mean, but like growing up, when you're doing plays, the whole family coming to see you?
Yeah, I mean, not at the same time, just because my twin sister and I are 5 years younger than, like, they had like 5 kids in a row, and then there was 5 years, and my sister was the accident, and I was a surprise because my mom didn't know she was having twins. Just kind of crazy.
Did anybody ever say, Kate,
Give it up.
You're nearing 40?
Actually, my dad, the very first time, my dad was always super supportive. And then, like, I think when I was 39, he literally was like, is there anything else you want to do? And I was like, oh my God, if he's saying this, wow. Yeah, whoa.
Did that really question that? Like, you questioned it?
Well, I have to tell you.
Or it make you go harder?
Yeah, well, just like I was already in it up to my eyeballs. And I feel like it's not like I was was doing my comedy act every Saturday for like, we did it for like every Saturday for 5 years. And then we would do it other times during the week too. But that was like our 1 hour show. And, you know, so, and I always had like a flyer in my waiter pocket, like, and damned if you give it to somebody and damned if you don't. Cause I'll beat myself up for like, God, you should have, why didn't you give, Robert Clary, who played LeBeau on Hogan's Heroes, your card? Why didn't you? Actually, a lot of the character actors ended up coming to the show.
Are you serious?
Literally, I'm not kidding you. Literally, the woman that played Fish's wife on
Barney Miller.
I'm forgetting
Abe Vigoda's wife.
I forget his wife, and I'm ashamed of myself because I can't remember her name. I remember Ann Mira and Jerry Stiller came, but I had worked with them before.
Okay.
They came. Howard Morris, who was Ernest T. Bass from the Andy Griffith Show, but also from Your Show of Shows, Uncle Goofy from Your Show of Shows. You know, Howie Morris. I mean, he was the voice of Adamant, Jughead. He was like the greatest. Like
and he showed up.
Yeah. Oh, he showed up to a couple of our shows. He came to our Aspen comedy tryout and sat in the front row with his feet on the stage.
Isn't that one that you guys won awards for and stuff?
Yeah, well, we were definitely in the mix. I mean,
right.
We won like like Pick of the Week, LA Weekly awards, like
variety kind of stuff.
Yeah. I was just like, those yearly paper, the LA Weekly had those,
right.
But
that's cool that they all showed up, man.
Yeah, it was
How
awesome.
nice.
It was, let me tell you, it was awesome because I was always more attracted to, I loved the character actors that used to come in the restaurant as opposed to like, Ann Miller, she used to come in, and like Billy Wilder and Esther Williams, like a lot of old stars.
And they would never come to your show.
Nah, probably not. That's all right. Billy Wilder couldn't pick me out of a lineup. I waited on him like 3 times a week.
Billy Wilder. You know who Billy Wilder is, right?
Director.
Big director.
From the 40s.
Did he not do Rebel Without a Cause?
He didn't do Rebel. No, he did Some Like It Hot.
Some Like It Hot. That's it.
Oh my God. He did a million things. He did Sunset Boulevard.
Oh, Sunset Boulevard is one of my favorites.
Lost Weekend. Yeah, I mean, he was the guy.
Yeah,
he was the guy. Yeah.
What was
The Apartment? One of my favorites.
The Apartment. What was the one thing where you go, a project you did where you were like, I'm good. I can do this.
You know what? I was doing this. I was at I was in Chicago. I got hired by Second City. I'd studied there. I got hired by them. And that's like the first, like, where you feel like, holy shit, because there's a lot of people that were auditioning over and over again and didn't get it. So I got in the touring company. And when I was there, Stephen Colbert was in the touring company, and not that we weren't in the same touring company, but we knew each other. Like there was like three.
Was he
three
great
companies.
then?
Amazing. I'm always the best. Always the best. But I remember John Favreau was a host there, and I was working with John in another theater at the Annoyance and at Improv Olympic, but he could not get hired at Second City as an actor. He was just a host, which is, it's nuts, It's so you feel like you get this thing, and it's like this, it's a validation,
right?
And then we were doing the show at the Annoyance Theater called the Real Life Brady Bunch with Jane Lynch, and then and it was Jill Soloway at the time, who's now Joey Soloway. It was their idea, and then to do these episodes of the Brady Bunch on stage, and it was like this huge hit. So
wait a minute, you said you actually did episodes?
yes,
Like,
and it was like-
reenacted
yeah,
episodes.
that was the joke, and it was with the music. And
Did you do the one where she gets hit in the football
you
with,
better
the, with
believe
the nose?
it. On my nose. Yeah, we did that. Yeah, and I was Jane's understudy for Carol Brady, but then I took over as Alice, the maid, for a while. And when I first started, I was doing like all the non-Brady was. So it was so like there was a line down the block. Like when you got laughs for that, you were like you knew.
And it was packed house all the time.
Every time, and then it went off Broadway. The show went off Broadway, so I went with it for some of that, and then it came out here to the Westwood Playhouse.
Do you get paid pretty well for those shows?
Not in Chicago, we didn't, but we did. I actually went when it went to New York, we got paid really well. Dave Koechner, first
Dave
Andy
Koechner.
Richter was Mr. Brady, the first one in New York, but he would do some episodes in Chicago as well. And then Dave Koechner took over for him in New York for a while. But Anna Gasteyer was in the tour with me. Rachel Dratch did it in New York. Like there's a lot of a lot of people in it.
But
yeah.
what is it? I mean, when you say you get paid well, it's still not like
it's not TV money.
It's not TV money, but it's
it was
enough
good theater money. Yeah,
good theater money.
Yeah.
And you
sure.
enjoyed it a lot.
It was a blast,
what
a
friends
blast.
did you meet that you are to this day
Oh,
really
well,
close with?
everybody. I just mentioned Jane Lynch and I just saw Rachel Dratch a little while ago. Dave Koechner, Andy Richter, Melanie Hutzel. Oh my gosh, there were other Ralph Garman. I'm trying to think of some of the more. Yeah.
But that's cool.
Yeah,
That's
it was
cool.
awesome. It was
Yeah,
great.
that's great.
Yeah, and the tour was like I actually ended up touring it for a year. We played the Kennedy Center for 7 weeks, which was nuts. I just kept thinking they're going to
God.
kick us out.
How many people fit in the Kennedy Center?
The room we were in was 500. We were in the maybe it was 600. Yeah, we were in the 600.
Do you get nervous to this day when you're performing in front of people, whether it's live or whether it's
It depends
a
what
studio
it is. It depends what it is.
What does it make you nervous? What can you just do and you don't get nervous and it's easy?
Well, when Jane Lynch and I performed together, we've been doing a live concert, a comedy concert together. I don't know what you call it, the anti-cabaret act. We've been doing it for like almost 7 years now.
Wow.
And there's some, like if we change things or if something's up, like every once in a while I get a little bit nervous for part of it, but not really. I'm not nervous. You know,
You can just wing it if you mess up or
Absolutely.
something. And you mess up, right?
Yeah, and the ball never gets dropped. I mean, we're perfectly imperfect. It's, I mean, she's amazing. She's incredible.
Do you
And
ever
our
lose
band's
your
great.
shit where you can't stop laughing?
Not usually,
Not
but
as
every
much.
once in a while I will laugh. I mean, not that things that I'm not enjoying myself, but
Right.
but every once in a while, one time we were super tired and I called her Joan instead of Jane, which is my mom. She was like, "What?" And I
That's your mom's name.
yeah,
That's
and
your
then
mom's name.
and then I said something. I was like, we're not in high school anymore. This isn't 1996. I was like, I don't know what that. Oh no, I said, Jane, it's 1996. It's 2006. She's like, no, it's not. Like, I just made stupid, whatever. It doesn't make it. It doesn't translate. But we have some good times.
But what makes you nervous?
I think when something's new,
Like a new show?
yeah,
A new, right.
yeah, new material sometimes. Or sometimes when I have to sing where it's just something that's pretty and I don't have the comedy net to fall back
behind you,
on.
right.
Yeah. You can't, yeah.
That's something, huh? When you have to be serious for a
Yeah,
minute. Is
yeah.
it hard for you to be serious? Is it hard for you to be in a moment?
It's getting easier as I'm getting older, but I feel like I was so resistant for years. Because I also feel like I didn't really start singing as myself until I started singing with Jane, which is kind of crazy. But because I when I did the lampshades, I was like, I sing, but I wear a wig. Like I'm playing a character,
Right, right.
I'm making fun of singers. So I think there's and we did this Christmas album that did really well. So I feel like I have something to compare what I'm doing. I mean, it's like there's a place to start, and also you don't really stray from what we created that people that are kind of coming to hear that. you know, which is good.
I can relate to that. I mean, I've always thought every situation I try to make a joke of it or make a laugh.
Right.
Because I'm afraid of intimacy.
Exactly.
Or I'm afraid of being too serious, or
It's
like
so
people know
true.
me as the funny guy. I've got to be funny.
Exactly.
I'm going to let them down.
That's how I felt. And I'm telling you, we used to do a couple really beautiful songs in the show. And I remember the first 2 years, our music director, Tony Guerrero, was like, would you please, because I would make a smart ass comment at the end of a beautiful song. And like literally, we would do this beautiful song. And just as people were starting to clap, I go, great song to get high to, huh? Like something stupid like that. Like, And he's like, what are you doing? And then we get like a little laugh. And he's like, what are you doing? You're like kind of shitting on this moment.
You're shitting on this moment. It's because of insecurity.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it's not enough because it's me.
I know. What is that? Why do we have that? I'm like 50 now, and I still have that sort of empty pocket that I fall back on. That little kid who was insecure, who wasn't good enough, but I still, even though I know, I'm aware of it, it still happens.
It's hard. I also feel like it's tough when you see somebody who I'm sure you've had friends who have come up through the ranks who like suddenly have notoriety and stardom, and they start taking themselves way too seriously. And you're like, what? I don't want to be that. I don't even want to get close to that. Yeah. I hate that.
Or I would have done things differently. Like I would have brought me along.
Well, there you go. Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
How many of those friends you go like, why didn't you bring me along for that? I mean, why don't you give me that role? Why don't you give what?
Well, that was my whole.
I hate to be that guy. But there's sometimes where I'm like, come on, throw me a fucking bone, dude.
Dude, that's why I came up with the lampshades with my comedy partner Scott, because I was like, the phone is not ringing. Like, I got to come up with something. Like, I got to get my own thing apparently. So you know, I mean, there's a gift in it if you look at it like that. Like, you get off your ass, you actually can create your own shit.
Yeah,
but there's like sometimes underlying thing is like, well, it would have been nice to get a phone call. You know, really?
I know. And I hate to be that, that person that's just like, oh, just do it for yourself. Go get your own success. Beat him with success. I'm like, yeah, but it's just all of a sudden you're doing this, and it's like, do I suck that bad?
No. And then, it's funny because it's funny. I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks lately. I know this is so crazy, but I was just listening to, talking of Happy Days, I was listening to Gary Marshall's book and Penny Marshall's book.
Wow.
And it's so funny because they came from the Bronx, and they literally when Gary was working on, first on The Odd Couple, he created this little like tutorial so that his friends could come and help produce the show. He had like a manual for them because he knew they were smart and they just didn't do it before. And so that's why he brought his friends along on Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley to produce and write.
That's what I would do.
But dude, he literally paved the way. I'm like, so few people do that. And if you know somebody's talented.
It's a shame.
Yeah, and there's also the trust factor. You can trust this person. Maybe my friends just don't fucking trust me. That's all I can think. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
Look, I understand if there's a movie and there's 4 actors in it.
Sure.
And you want to, I'm not exactly what
and
you're
you got to have a bit, and you want to draw.
But if there's 40 actors in a fucking movie.
Totally. Yeah.
I mean, so it is a little disconcerting to say the least. And
I see it on both sides. It's certainly something that I've learned to accept through the years, but it is a little bit like it's a kick in the balls sometimes.
I feel like it's Paulie and from Rocky, Paulie and what's her name? Adrian.
Yeah. What do you mean?
He's just like, what do I owe you, Paulie? I do your laundry. I do this. What do I owe you? You're a bitch. Remember that scene?
Of course.
But like, he's like, maybe it's like, what do I owe you? I don't owe you anything. I don't know. Maybe
no, and the thing is like, really, I mean, it's nice when you can bring somebody along, but
I always try to do that. That's just me.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm on a project, if there's I'll bring my friend up for 5 lines. I'll bring, if I was the lead, when I was the lead on a show.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
bring
really nice.
I got my other friend producer session, and he got the part. I got my friend's song in a Smallville episode. I got,
that's awesome.
My movie, I put so many of my friends in it. Even if they had very little to do, I wanted you to know that I loved you, and I'm putting you in here.
And actually, the one person that I really fought for on The Office to get a part was my comedy partner from the Lampshades, Scott Robinson. He was the bartender at Poor Richard's for the second to last episode. It took me all those years to the second to last episode, but I was so happy it worked. And I felt bad it wasn't a bigger part, but still, But yeah, I'm totally. Yeah. I totally get you.
Do I sound like, what's the word? Do I sound like bitter when I talk about that? A little? Ryan's like, I sound bitter.
Well,
my microphone's on the floor, but yes.
Yeah.
Well,
but I'm not saying that I always feel that way, but I'm just feeling like sometimes.
But I think you're honest, and I think I don't think you live in that neighborhood. I don't think you're bitter all the time.
No. I'm just like, I noticed in the past where I'm like,
yes. It's like, wow, that would have been.
You know what bothers me?
Or would have been easy.
When other friends validate what I've been thinking and I don't say anything, and they go, I don't know why you're not in that role.
Yeah.
Or I don't know why you're not getting a call.
Yeah. It's funny. That's so funny. Yeah.
Who's also a mutual close friend of that other person.
Right.
And you're like, I don't know. Talk to her.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Talk to
funny.
her.
It's funny. Yeah, I remember seeing a movie a few years ago that I had read for a part that and then they ended up changing the part, so or the part didn't exist anymore. But anyway, it still would have been nice to do another part. And I remember I saw Jane at the movie. She was not in the movie either, and she goes, "Well, that was a great movie. How come we weren't in this?" And I was like, "Wow, if she's saying this."
I know.
Because we knew a few of the people involved. I was
That's
like,
life.
She's saying that.
Yeah, you get your feelings hurt. That's just life. It's just like, I think it's because, hey, I've done this long enough. Haven't I proven myself?
Right.
And then I'm like, okay, I guess you don't see that. That's okay.
Right.
That's okay.
I know.
You know, what are you going to do? You got to let it go and go, hey, I'm going to beat him with success.
Yeah.
Or I'm just going to have my own success. Great for them. I love you. I want you to be happy.
Right. And clearly I'm supposed to be doing something else. You know, I mean, I feel like, you know, it's again, it's like we have to, I feel like the biggest job I have as an actor to watch my expectations all the time because otherwise I'd be in hell. Yeah. You know, it's a big job.
It is.
It is. I mean, I think, you know, that's when I'm less and less encouraging the young talent, but because I always bring that up, I'm like, you got to be careful because if you have to be persistent, but you have to be pleasantly persistent because if you're angry persistent, nobody wants to work with you.
I always feel like I just want to be the most fun to work with. You're gonna love me. The crew's gonna love me. It's gonna be a great time. I'll fit in just nicely.
I know I know that's so true. It's so true. I always that's what I don't like about guest starring is that it's hard. Sometimes you're just there for a day or two, and it's harder. It's hard to get to know the crew. So you're like, like I don't remember anybody's name.
Guest stars have the hardest role. You're coming into a family that's everybody's done, and you're starting, and all eyes are on you. Yeah, that's not fun.
I know. And then I feel like people are fans of The Office, and I'm like, hey, you know what? And then they feel whatever. I just like I'd love to. I wish we had a little more time.
Yeah. A little more time to hang.
Yeah.
What
for sure.
You don't seem like the kind of person that would ever have an addiction problem with like alcohol or drugs or anything like that. You just don't seem like you ever would.
I played a drunk for 9 seasons, Michael.
You did play one on The Office.
Yeah, but it came pretty well. You know what?
Did you ever have drinking problems?
No. Well, you know, I dated guys with drinking problems. You know, I've had a lot of alcohol.
Are you a fixer?
I used to be. Not anymore.
Right.
I gave up. But yeah, I mean, obviously, my dad owned a bar. There's been a lot of alcoholism in my family for years.
Well, Flannery, for crying out loud.
Flannery's Tavern, darling, in Philadelphia. If you can't type stereotype, here we are. It's so true. So true. My dad's bar was like an old man bar. It was. It's so funny. I was just talking to my sister the other day about my dad had all these guys that lived above the bar, and if they couldn't make rent, he'd let them work it off. He was like the friend of the forgotten man.
Wow.
Because he got sober in the 60s, like sort of. He didn't go to AA, but he figured out, because he was drinking too much, and he saw Days of Wine and Roses, that Jack Lemmon movie, and it scared the shit out of him. And that's kind of what got him sober. But I just, so he wanted to help these guys. He didn't try to get them sober. He just wanted to make sure that they, didn't die in the street.
Right.
That was kind of thing. Some guy broke into my dad's station wagon and fell asleep. My dad found him and gave him a job and a place to live for the next 35 years. Polish guy.
Are you kidding me?
I shit you not. My dad is a fucking character. And this one guy.
What a guy.
He's a good guy. He really is.
And you're taking care of him right now, right?
Well, I'm my sister Susie's taking care of him. I'm back and forth.
You help here and there.
Yeah, I'm back and forth. I try to get there at least once a month.
That's a lot.
He's 98.
Jeez.
I know, he's amazing. Still has all his marbles, so which is important. But I just remember, like, there was a guy that worked for my dad after, he had some bad luck, and I think he was a carpenter, and so he was working around the bar, and he got cancer of the tongue. They used to call him Joe Tickets because he always had raffle tickets. Everybody had a nickname.
Joey Tickets.
Yeah, right. And then he became, I called him Tongueless Joe because they had to remove part of his tongue, and he used to answer the phone.
How you doing, Flannery? Tongueless Joe, it's Kate.
Hey, right? He's
Did you really call him Tongueless Joe?
Not to his face.
Not to his
just
face.
Behind his back. Like a good Catholic girl, I waited behind his back. But I remember being in the car. We were driving to the shore, and it was like an hour and a half drive, and Joe's in the passenger seat. My dad's driving, and I'm in the back. And Joe says, and my dad goes, he wants to know if you fish. My dad could understand everything. And I said, no, I don't, not really. And my dad goes, she says she doesn't fish.
like he's
earless Joe. Like he's earless Joe.
He's earless Joe. All right, this is called Shit Talking with Kate Flannery. These are my patrons, the lovable patrons who give back to the podcast. Patreon.com/inside of you. Thank you for all the love and support, guys, and supporting the podcast. These are rapid fire if you want.
Yes.
Leanne, any fun behind the scenes memories from Dancing with the Stars, which we didn't really talk about? Or
that
had to be nerve-wracking.
It was. I was gonna say that was not fun backstage. It was like going in front of a firing squad every week. That's how it felt. It was nuts.
Was it exciting?
It was exciting, and it was some weeks were like triumphant because I was like, oh my god, because I did get the highest score a couple weeks, which is nuts because I
lasted 5 rounds.
Yeah, and I was the oldest person for most of the show.
Wow,
which is nuts, you know. And then I got most of the tour.
You're not old.
I got 50. Well, I was 55. That's pretty old. All the other women were in their 20s, except for Mary Wilson, and she got cut the first week. So it was and. It was nuts. And then I got 54 of the 80 shows on tour, and we got cut short a little bit.
Pandemic.
Yeah, but I did 45 of the shows, so I only missed 10 shows, which is it's nuts. I mean,
did you feel like you were in the best shape of your life when you were doing that?
Yes, absolutely.
Were there times where you were with your dance partner? Was his name Posh?
Pasha, yeah.
Were there times where you just felt like I can't do this?
Yeah,
I can't. I'm going to quit.
Yeah, I literally was like, my body does not like. I wasn't going to quit, but I was like, we got to figure something out because I'm not getting that step. Like I would love to. And again, like I wish I'd had 6 months training to get, because I was so out of shape when we started. I was not doing cardio. And I'd put on a little weight. I was like, holy crap. It was, it's like, I literally said, it is. And I literally say I did that show because I'm too cheap to join a gym. I was like, I wanted to be on Naked Afraid, but they weren't interested. Sorry. So stupid.
Naked Afraid.
So stupid. But I actually, it was an interesting challenge, and it almost becomes almost like a religious practice where you just have to, like, it's the only thing you can focus on. There's like nothing else on the menu. You just have to work on that because otherwise it will never work. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I can't imagine doing that. I can't imagine.
It was nuts. It was a really interesting experiment. I mean, it's the weirdest show.
Do you whisper things in your ears while you're dancing? Like, okay, ready? Here we go.
Sometimes, yeah. Or he'll do the 4, 5. Like he'll like count
4, 5.
Yeah, he's like, yeah.
And he just does it with his mouth closed.
Yeah. Because some people are counting really loud. You know. Yeah.
That look.
Lamar Odom's dance partner was screaming like 2, 3, like. Bye.
How long did he last?
I think 2, 3, maybe 2 or 3.
2 or 3.
2 or 3, yeah.
Because people just wanted to see more.
Yeah. I guess, yeah.
But did you feel like you were like, hey, I'm holding my own here?
I did. And I had another weird, I don't even know if we should talk about this, but my season, Sean Spicer was on, and literally the former president was tweeting for people to vote for Sean. So that's why I should have been on for at least one more episode, but Sean, so.
Son of a bee.
Isn't that weird?
It is.
That administration literally was affecting
weird.
It was very strange.
Well, just
very
think,
strange.
I was just watching the Eyes of Tammy Faye. Did you see it?
Yeah, of course.
And remember how they talk about how Reagan would call Jim Baker and say, hey, can you speak on behalf of me and everybody to vote for Reagan? So he had millions and millions of people in his congregation are supporting his church and, for Reagan.
Wow.
So, you get somebody like the president going, hey, vote for Sean Spicer. You're kind of fucked.
Tweeting it. It's nuts. Yeah, it's nuts. It's
Emily
nuts.
asks, favorite episode of The Office to film ever?
I'm going to say Moroccan Christmas, because that's the only time Steve and I actually had a full scene that we got to improvise. Usually everything was really written and you would improvise within your lines once in a while. But I think they were going to put a voiceover of the whole thing, and they end up keeping some of the ADR. But yeah, that whole chase scene when Meredith gets dragged into rehab by Michael Scott, that was such a blast. Such a blast.
Loved it.
So fun. Steve's the best.
This is one we were sort of talking about. Meg K, one of my favorite Meredith moments was in season 7, episode titled The Sting. You were hilarious as Meredith Van Helsing trying to seduce Timothy Olyphant's character. Danny Cordray. Right. Yes. Are there any behind the scenes stories from the episode that you remember? And did you like working with Tim?
I did like working. I was definitely nervous though, because he's a very intimidating. I mean, he's a beautiful man.
I did my first movie with him.
Oh, you did? Mm-hmm. It's so funny. And like I said, I had been watching Deadwood, so I was like, but yeah, I just remember there was a point where I was like touching his ear. I was like, oh dear God. Like I wish I was a little less nervous because I think I would have touched him more, but maybe it's better I didn't.
I don't know. I like touching people. Like, sometimes it makes them uncomfortable.
I was touching his ear a lot. I was
that
like,
didn't sound right. But.
No. I know. It's just weird. I was like trying to wet my finger and put it in his ear. Whatever, those horrible
But
things that you should never do to anybody now that we have a pandemic.
You'll get this. I don't get this. Hannah H., I would truly like to know if you support any rabies nonprofit organizations.
You know what? I was just wearing my Meredith Palmer celebrity rabies. Michael Scott. I never know how. I really should practice that T-shirt that Michael Scott had made for the fun run. For rabies awareness. I don't, but I will. I'm going to Hannah. Don't worry. I'm on it. If you have a rabies charity, please let me know. I'll get on that.
When you won a SAG award as a cast,
yes,
2 SAG awards.
Yes.
Did they give you separate awards so you can put them on your mantle?
Yes,
they do.
It's not
and they one each that weigh, you share.
No, they weigh like 80 pounds each. They're nuts. It's nuts. Like, and then you're carrying it around with your long dress. It's a bitch. Winning's a bitch.
Winning is just so hard. Now they've talked about, you've heard about this stuff like reboots because they reboot a lot of things. Do you think The Office will be
I don't know.
rebooted?
I don't know. I think that
is it up to Steve Carell? You think
it is up to Steve, but and yes, and Greg Daniels. But I think that we have 2 big obstacles. One is that we're so beloved, and there's a feeling that things wrapped up so perfectly that it's like there's a sacredness to it. And another, the world has become more PC than ever, and Michael Scott, a lot of what he's said may not fly.
Right.
So that's what I would be worried about.
What's next? What are you doing now? Because you're doing so much. What's going on?
Well, I just finished a movie that my stuff was shot in Alaska.
You went to Alaska?
I did.
How was that?
It was insane. We were shooting in this very fancy log cabin. But it was cold and it was crazy. And we had to shoot. I had to be so prepared. We did so many scenes a day because of the weather. We had to be
a lot of dialogue.
Yeah. It was fun though, but it was intense. And Matt Walsh is in the movie too. It's called Bolt from the Blue. It hasn't come out. I'm not sure what's happening. And I just had a movie that was just at South by Southwest called The Prank with Rita Moreno.
Wow.
Yeah.
How is it working with her?
You know what? We were not in scenes together, but I did.
Did you meet her?
I did. She's the greatest. And it's funny because I just saw her last week at Lily Tomlin's handprint ceremony at the Chinese
Are you
Theater.
friends with Lily Tomlin?
I did a play that she and Jane produced right before I got The Office.
Wow.
Yeah. So and she was very supportive of the Lampshade. She had us perform at the big closing night party.
Have you had good conversations with Lily Tomlin?
I have. She's the greatest.
Did she ever talk about her incident with what's his name on the set? David.
David O. Russell. I used to wait on David O. Russell.
Was he nice?
He was always nice to me, which is interesting because usually people that blow up will blow up at waiters. But we also had a mutual friend, so maybe he was nicer to me at the restaurant.
But that scene is incredible, isn't it? That moment
I Heart
where he
Huckabees. Oh my gosh!
I Heart Huckabees. If you haven't seen it, if you go online, Tomlin kind of lashes out at him, and he lashes back at her, and he goes pretty overboard.
Oh yeah.
But of course, you never brought that up.
No.
Why would you ever bring that up? I would have brought that up.
No. Oh, it's funny because they listed it. She has so many movies, and Ben Megowitz. I'm actually friends with Ben Megowitz from TCM. He introduced Jane Fonda, who then introduced Lily for the thing, and he mentioned I Heart Huckabees, and I was like, oh, what are you bringing up that movie for? Yeah. But
what else do you want to do? I mean, you're still very young. You have a long life ahead of you. What is it you want to do?
I want to be the character. You know what? I really want to be. I did an episode of Magnum PI this past year.
Oh yeah,
I really
how was
loved
that?
It was a blast. It was a blast.
Where does that film?
The big Waikiki.
Oh, what a treat.
It was amazing. It was amazing. And the best cast ever. They literally took me out to dinner twice. When does it ever happen to you? A guest star on a show and they take you out to dinner. I mean, they're awesome. But yeah, I
you want to go back?
I do want to go back, but I like the idea of being the character person on a 1 hour. I love, there's a few people that do it really well. And I feel like it's an interesting place to be because you get to be funny, but it's not, there's not like pressure. It's just, I don't know.
Would you do a drama?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like a drama, like a character, procedural or a drama. Yeah,
but you don't want the heavy load. You don't want like tons and tons of lines every week.
I don't need to be
that either.
I don't need to be.
I don't mind being the
Less
fifth
is
lead.
more.
Come in, do a couple scenes a week.
Right.
Go have your life.
Yes.
Let me be.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be the dream?
Yeah. And if somebody else has something to prove, it's all yours. It's all yours.
Prove yourself.
Go ahead. Go for it.
This has been a really big treat. Did you have fun?
It's been a real treat for me too.
Did you hear me stumble?
You did, and I yeah. You know what they say.
What do they say?
If you stumble, then you're lying. I'm just kidding.
Was I lying? I didn't have
fun.
fun.
I don't know. I feel bad. I feel like this flew by. I didn't ask you.
That means it's good.
I didn't ask you anything, dude.
Well, why are you supposed to ask me? It's my podcast.
I know, because I want to know.
Ask me a question.
Well, what do you want to do next?
I want to dance. I want, I
can make some calls for you. If you really want to dance, I can work it out for you.
I honestly,
you got the wrong person.
I think that in the beginning we were talking. I don't know if we were recording.
Oh yeah,
but purpose.
Right. Oh yeah, purpose. Yeah.
I don't know if we were
having a purpose.
Having a purpose.
Yeah.
I think that I'm working on that.
Have you felt like you've had a purpose in the past?
No, I don't. I'm not sure, but I feel like I'm not. A lot of people from the podcast have said, hey, this podcast really helps me and affects my life. And
yes, because you ask good questions.
Well, I don't even know, but it's like enough people have said this that I really feel like, okay, that should be purpose. That should be some purpose there, helping other people.
Of course,
helping others. So I'm still working on myself. I'm still working on what I think is going to make me ultimately happy. That's kind of a funny word, happy.
Of course, of course.
It's like who's really happy, and I always think, well, happy people, I guess.
Right, but you want to be content. You want to be successful. You want a peace of mind.
Yeah,
and also some room for joy. Like
I want to say I'm doing this, and I'm really happy about this.
Yeah,
I'm proud of this.
Yeah.
And this is what I want to do.
Totally.
It's been a while since I've been like, I'm so excited. Music kind of makes me feel that way.
Absolutely.
I like music.
I totally get
I'm
that.
never going to be a rock star.
Right.
I'm never going to sell a million records, but I do love playing music.
I have to say the same thing. Like when Jane and I get to sing together, it's like one of the great joys of my life. And I know we're going to be doing our Christmas tour this year.
How many albums have you done together?
Just one.
Just one, the Christmas album?
The Christmas album. But we just booked three dates at Joe's Pub at the Public Theater in December. We're going to be doing, and then I know we're playing like Chicago, and like we'll be doing another full tour, I'm sure, for Christmas. But it's it's joyful. Like it is. There, and there's this thing that like I feel like it's so much of the unconscious. Music is like, it's so unconscious, which is what I like, because I feel like I'm sometimes I'm too conscious and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
I'm like thinking about this and not like, am I doing this right? Am I, what should I be doing? Am I doing the most with what I've got? Like, are we making the best of this time? Because I feel like, especially in the last couple of years, like, I don't know how much longer we have on this planet. It's a weird time.
It really
and there's a lot of
is.
people that are like jumping. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah. I feel like, my parents, how, when you're in the 80s, you're talking about how bad the 80s are, and the music was really 70s and 60s.
Sure.
And I think that I'm like, no, the 80s were the best time.
Right?
They really were, though.
I know, that's so funny.
They were just so much fun and individuality, and the music was so diverse, and it was just
that's
like
so funny.
I won't backtrack on that. I won't go back and go, because I really feel like it's far better than the music now. There's some great performers.
I agree.
But I feel like that whole essence of the 80s was just a pleasant time. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the parents will go, you don't remember Reaganomics, and you don't remember the Iran-Contra, and you don't remember all these, and the AIDS, and the,
but we were young then. And so our conscious, what we were really aware of, but
there was connection.
Yes.
There was connection. You had to... you say, hey, I'll meet you at the theater at 7 and hope that they're there.
Right. You didn't text or change or double check. There was intuition. We actually used our intuition to find each other at the airport. Like, how did that happen? Right.
Exactly.
You just
we figured
people
it out.
that we did. Yes.
And now it's like the TikTok, and you're on there for hours, and it's like, you could be doing so many other things. Yeah. And I do it.
I do too. I'm like micromanaging these things that don't amount to shit.
I just wish there'd be more connection. I just wish that, it wouldn't be all about, the internet and what funny videos people are showing. I want more connection. Maybe that's more, I'll have more purpose.
Right.
The more connection we have.
Right. Let's just destroy the internet. Is that what you're saying?
Let's destroy the internet.
Blow that sucker
Maybe
off.
that's what Elon Musk is going to do, because he bought Twitter.
Something's going to happen. I don't know. It ain't going to be pretty. because he ain't that pretty. You know, it's funny. I was thinking as a kid, we were talking about TV shows. I remember feeling like after like shows like MASH and Mary Tyler Moore, I wanted to be on a comedy that had a great finale. And I feel so lucky that I got on a show that had a great finale, like a long run shit like that. And that's so rare because I feel like there's so many comedies are kind of dramedies now.
Yeah.
Or they're just not that funny.
Even Game of Thrones had a bad ending.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. So I feel like everything else, like when I'm really in gratitude and like when I'm not comparing myself to somebody that like, how come I don't have that? You know, how come they didn't call me for that? You know, which is like, you know, keep your eyes on your own paper. That's like a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Just don't go there because it's a slippery slope. Once you start doing it, it snowballs into some, hey, wait a minute. But I also think just like looking back and thinking, okay, what did I do that really, how did I really make my dreams come true? And I've done that a few times.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I feel like that too. I feel
I
like,
mean, there's that. And that's
I always say, haven't I done enough?
Well,
haven't I done enough? Isn't it? When is it enough? When is it you're like, hey, you made people laugh, you entertained people, you were on a show, you did this, you're a good, you're a good brother, you're a good grandson, you're good. Well, can't you just be content? Isn't that enough?
Right.
What else do you need?
Yeah.
But
I know.
some reason I feel compelled to need more.
Well, maybe there's another chapter waiting for you that you got to get your ass off and get off your ass. I can't talk.
I think I need to fall in love.
Well, there you go.
Does love change the game?
It does. You know, I met my boyfriend on The Office. He was a still photographer at NBC, and he would come on the set sometimes. So I feel like I was playing, like, you know, I did not get a great wardrobe or a lot of makeup on The Office. I don't know if you noticed. The first season, I was like, I'm never going to get laid working on the show. And then I ended up meeting, like, my boyfriend. I'm like, it's crazy.
Never going to get laid.
I literally, it's funny.
Show.
Yeah, a couple people, like, from the season 1 remember that. They were like, I remember you said that. I was like, I meant it.
Oh my God, I'm never going to get laid working on this show.
Honest to God.
That's how I felt when I was on Smallville. I'm bald. I'm like,
right.
no good girl, only goth chicks are going to like me.
Oh my God.
You know, oh my God.
So funny. But I wish you love. I wish you love.
You wish me love?
I do.
Thanks.
I do.
I wish you love.
I have it.
You have love.
Yeah.
Do you feel like when you're in love,
16 years.
16?
Yeah.
Do you feel like when you're in love, I hear this, that it reduces your stress levels?
Yeah, it does.
Why is that?
You know what? I think well, it depends. If you're in love with somebody who's crazy in a really fucked up relationship, then ignore what I'm saying. Because that I was there, and that's not optimal. I mean, you know, you can do better. That's all I'm saying. But I do think it does. I think there's just, I don't know what it is.
Someone calms you. If it's the right person,
yeah,
they calm you when you're in stressful situations. I assume that's kind of what it is.
I think that's it. And I think it's a reminder that we're not just here to do stuff and work hard. You know what I mean? Like, I think, what did they say? Like, we're not a human doing, we're a human being. Like, you can just be.
Right.
And I feel like that other person helps to remind you can just be, you know?
Words of wisdom from Kate Flannery.
Let it be.
I love it.
You're the best.
I root for you. I think you're a terrific person.
You're awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you weren't I just did a Comic-Con with Oscar Nunez last week, and it was like the craziest group of people. It was like Bobby and Cindy Brady, Bionic Woman, and $6 Million Man.
Are you going to St. Louis Con?
I'm not.
Are you going to Illinois, Metropolis? No, you're not going to that one.
No.
Are you going to Australia? Are you going to?
I'm not. Maybe added later, but we'll see.
Okay. Well, we'll meet up again.
I'm sure.
By the way, if I'm having a birthday party on July 10th, if you're in town, it's a Sunday, and it's an 80s band. The Spasmatics are going to play. I think Taylor Dane might play.
What?
Yeah. So it's going to be like a fun 50th birthday party.
That's fantastic.
So I'll invite you.
Thank you.
And you'll have to come.
All right.
Yeah, this has been a real treat. Lastly, I'm gonna ask you 3 TV shows. You give me the theme song.
Okay.
MASH.
I'm playing the trumpet.
That's it, though.
Yeah.
All right. Give me. This is a tough one.
Okay.
Little House on the Prairie.
Shit. Because it almost sounds like the theme to the Newhart show, not the Bob Newhart show, but the second Bob Newhart series.
God, what was it?
Oh shit. I hate myself.
No, that's Dallas.
Yeah,
that's Dallas. Was that Dallas?
That was Dallas.
Hold on.
Da, na, 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 na.
All right.
Last minute. I got it.
Last one.
Okay.
Give me the Love Boat theme.
Love, exciting and new, come aboard.
Expecting you.
You know that if you go to if you go to Long Beach, the boat
Princess.
now they play that on instead of like the old whistle, it plays the theme to Love Boat. We were just down. We were
What
in
a
Long Beach a
treat.
couple weeks ago. We were laughing so hard. The people that live in the neighborhood of the boat, they want to kill the boat company now.
I don't blame him. I love you. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. You're the best.
awesome. Bye.
You're the best.
It was great.
She's great. She's great.
I mean, she was a great guest. She was someone who was humble. She was open. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Kay Flannery, for being on the podcast. Thank you for holding my hand when we almost died in the plane crash going down in Arkansas. But it didn't crash. We're alive. We're still here.
And thanks for taking a photo. That was fun. I'll post that too.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that was nice of her.
Yeah, she's a nice woman.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Another reminder, the Big Talkville podcast. Tom Welling and I, the new podcast. Ryan will join us.
I am there too.
Every week we will talk. We will watch Smallville, an episode, and then talk about it. Join us starting Wednesday, July 13th, and every Wednesday after. Spread the word. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's a hotline you can call us, leave messages, blah de blah. We can't wait to join you or for you to join us on this amazing
Journey.
journey. Thank you.
Good word.
Journey.
Adventure.
Thank you to all my patrons. Go to the Inside of You online store for awesome merch, new zip-ups, new glasses, drinking glasses Inside of You, autographs, anything you need. There's scripts autographed by me. There's so much great stuff on that website. It's really grown. My Shopify account has really grown. Let me tell you, there's a lot of cool stuff on there. Thank you for listening. Right now, these are the top tier patrons. These are the people who give the most to the podcast, and I'm going to give them a shout out. Here we go. Nancy D, Leah S, Sarah V, Little Lisa, Yukiko, Jill E, Brian H, Nico P, Robert B. You ready for some more?
Let's do it.
Jason W, Raj C, Joshua D, CJP, Jennifer N, Stacy L, Jamal F, Janelle B, Kimberly E, Mike E, Eldon Supremo, 99 more, Santiago M, Chad W, Leanne P, Janine R, Maya P, Maddie S, Belinda N, Chris H, Dave H, Sheila G, Brad D, Ray
H.
Tabitha T, Tom N, Liliana A, Talia M, Betsy D, Chad L, Rochelle, Marion, Meg K, Dan N, Big Stevie W, Angel M, Rhiannon C, Corey K, Super Sam, Dev Nexon, Michelle A, Jeremy C, Andy T, Cody R, Gavinator, David C, John B, Brandy D,
Vor.
correct, Yavor, Camille S, The,
C.
Joey M, Willie F, David H, Design,
OTG.
OTG, Eugene and
Leah.
correct. Chris P, Nikki G, Corey Nicole, Heather L, Jake B, James B, Bobbitt, Megan T, Mel S, Orlando C, John B, Caroline R, Rob E, Paul C, Christine S, Sarah S, Eric H, Spring, Jennifer R, Shane R, Emma R, Mark M, Jeremy V, Andrew M, Robert G, Zatucci 77, and Andreas N. Andreas N. I don't know what I would do without my patrons. You guys really help support the podcast, and I thank you, and I say it every week, and I'll say it again. Thank you. I love you. It means the world to me. And the big podcast, Talkville, coming soon, man. Coming soon. So make sure you support that one, if you will. We're going to need your support and love, and follow us and write reviews and send in questions, and it's going to be a big family affair. That's what it's going to be.
Like Mary J. Blige.
Did she sing that?
I believe that was.
It's a family affair.
I can't think of how it goes.
You want to hear the theme song now? I changed it. I decided this is the theme song.
What is?
This is right here.
It just starts.
You're listening to Talkville. It's from a new song off the new album, but it'll be just an instrumental version. But it's a song called I'll Go to Heaven. but I think it just gives it a little energy, a little spark. I like it. I like it better than the other thing we were working on, but we could always try things.
Great, let's do it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
Why the hell not?
I know what you mean.
Why the hell not? Thank you guys. From the Hollywood Hills in Hollywood, California, I am Michael Rosenbaum.
I'm Ryan Tejas.
Yeah, I'll give a little wave to the camera. Thanks, guys. Promise me you'll be good to yourself and have a great week. Thank you for making me part of your week. And keep listening. That's all I could say. If you don't know a guest that I have on here, I hope that you'll listen anyway and learn something about them and not just say, I don't know them. See ya. Because it really helps when you listen and spread the word. So all my love to you. Continue to love. And Ryan, I'll see you next time. Get some rest, man.
You too.
Yeah.